Hi, everyone. I'm Debbie, and I'm here to welcome everyone and get us started, do some introductions. I am a co-founder with Andrew, also on this call, of the Art and Science of Joy and the Year of Joy. And we welcome you to this live event on the Year of Joy, self-love. We're all talking about self-love. If by chance you haven't already joined the Year of Joy, please check it out. I'm pretty sure Shari will put that in the chat box at some point during this call when she has a moment. And it's a link. It is a free community platform to talk about all things joy and help you build your joy muscle. I'm all about that muscle. I mean, I can't build my abs. I've been trying for years. So I moved on and I went to joy. And that I'm having a really positive impact on myself. So I welcome all of you to join in on that. Today, again, we're talking about self-love, and I'd like to introduce our panelists for everyone. First, we have Shari Alyse. Known as America's Joy Magnet, Shari is the author of international bestseller, Love Yourself Happy, 2 times TEDx speaker, TV host, and personality, and the joy reporter for Our Year of Joy, who is on a mission to spread joy globally. With over 2 decades of experience in the entertainment and wellness industries, Shari is a leading voice in the personal growth and self-love space. Shari's expertise and relatable approach have made her a sought-after and regular guest expert on mainstream media news such as ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. She has been featured in Thrive Global, Medium, Huffington Post, to name just a few. Shari has hosted and produced multiple TV and radio shows, including her most recent TV show, The Joy Spot, which I just love. It has attracted and featured top guests like Dr. Joe Vitale, Danielle Laporte, Sark, and more. Shari's work has touched the lives of thousands of people, and her message of joy continues to resonate with audiences around the world. Welcome, Shari.
Hi, so good to be here. Thank you.
Next, we have Kim Basler. Kim is an expert in supporting women with their relationship with food, body, and mindset, with 30 years of experience in the fitness industry. She works with women individually, as well as in group spaces who want to feel better about themselves, ditch the diets, and foster confidence from the inside out, no longer attaching their worth to a number on the scale. I need that big time. She is the founder of the Empowered Movement Community, creator of her program, Food Freedom Foundations, as well as a certified hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner, rewiring the subconscious mind to get unstuck and unlock true potential. A sought-after speaker, a published author, and new presenter of the year with CanFit Pro, the largest provider of education in the Canadian fitness industry, for her work on body image and mental wellness in the fitness industry. Kim exists to empower women around the world to go deeper than another diet, learn to love the woman they see in the mirror, and live boldly and unapologetically, shining their light into the world. Oh, welcome, Kim. So excited to have you here.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I am so excited to be here.
Next, we have Kelli Jaecks. Kelli is a self-care strategist and nationally published author, professional speaker, and blogger. Kelli works with organizations who want achievable strategies to slay burnout and optimize their team's total health. She also coaches others to put their own self-care first so they can fully live their lives and better serve the world. Kelli is the author of the bestseller, Martinis and Menopause, Strategies, Science, and Sips That Empower Women to Beat the Hormone Groan, and hosts a popular blog on women's health and wellness. That's one I'm definitely going to be reading. She is the past president of the American Dental Hygienists Association and the NSA National Speakers Association, Oregon chapter. Oh my gosh. Welcome, Kelli. Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. I'm delighted to be here.
And last, but of course not least, we have Kai Fuentes. Kai is the president of Ebony Marketing Systems. It's a multicultural research firm. Kai has always been intrigued with spirituality and the power of personal growth. Aside from being a business owner for over 15 years, Kai has 20 years of experience as a licensed biofeedback counselor. Blending her Eastern spiritual belief systems with traditional biofeedback techniques, to help her clients achieve personal, physical, and spiritual growth. Kai is a student of meditation and yoga. She brings these belief systems to her business, running her firm with integrity and compassion. Recently, Kai obtained a certification in breath work and provides framework for corporations to better help their employees' wellness. Oh my gosh, welcome, Kai. It's so wonderful to have you. And
Thank you. So excited.
It's so wonderful for everyone to be here, and I'm really excited to learn how to put some of this into use. And I will hand it over to Andrew as he leads our panelists.
Excellent. Thanks, Debbie, for that wonderful introduction to everybody and to the year of joy. So the panel today is going to do two things. So first of all, I know this panel has gathered so much information about how you can use the power of self-love and the benefits it's got to you. So we're going to sort of split the conversation into two parts. The first part, we're going to invite each panelist to share their favorite tips for 5 minutes or so on how you can actually improve your self-love and love yourself a bit more. After which we'll have a discussion around why we should be bothering to do this. What are the benefits? Why you should make the effort of all these choices you have in your life every day, why you should be thinking about choosing self-love. So you already made a choice to join the webinar today, which is a good step. And I'm sure the fine panel will drive home many more reasons for why you could actually do a lot worse than to focus on loving yourself a little bit more. So I'm going to hand over to Kai, who is going to start that. Anybody, any questions, you can put them in the chat. There's a Q&A box you can also use, so keep your comments and questions coming. Debbie will run a QA towards the end, and then if anybody wants to come on and share their own thoughts about self-love, we'll open up the mic for people to do that at the end. But without further ado, I'm going to go silent. For those who know me, that's never easy. I'm going to go silent and I'm going to go off camera and let Kai take the floor and then pass it on to Kelly from there. Welcome, Kai.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about being here today. Self-love is a journey, and it's a journey that I work on all the time. So just because I'm at a certain place doesn't mean that I don't continue to work on it. It's something that has to be reminded to myself and to my clients every day about self-love. One thing that is super important to me, and a tip, is listening to your body. And it could be something very simple as making sure you're hydrated, making sure that you're eating the right food groups, if possible, right? So being able to nurture your body, that helps nurture your soul and your mind and who you are to the world. I even find that days that are not as hydrated as other days, those days are better for me. So just simple tips of staying hydrated, making sure you're eating the right food groups, and treating your body well, doing good things to and with your body, exercising if you can. I know it's difficult to do, but taking a walk, getting some air in your lungs, those kind of things really help my self-help journey, my self-love journey. Another thing that I've been doing is I've been setting boundaries. So we talked about the physical and then now like emotional piece, right? So the other day I was helping a family member with something, and she was really giving me the business about how to help her and what I should do and what I shouldn't do. And she was making me feel really some kind of way. And I stopped the conversation and I said, I guess I'm going to put her on blast. Auntie, she's not watching this. It's okay. I said, Auntie, I really don't like how this conversation is going. I'm not feeling good about this. I love you, but I love me too. I'm going to hang up and let's pick this conversation up another time. But you know what? It took everything I had to do that. because I wanted to say something else, but I didn't. But I also knew that she wasn't making me feel the way I want to feel and the way I deserve to feel. So prioritizing yourself, setting healthy boundaries, and that could be with family members that you're very close with. There's been times I've set boundaries with my own kids about certain things that I will tolerate and not tolerate. Another piece of self-love that I've been working on and that's been a real help for me is trusting myself. Being able to trust myself and say, Kai, you got this. You know this. It's okay. So trusting myself. Of course, as we all know, talking about yourself in a good way, not deflecting from a compliment. I tend to do that. You know, someone says, oh, I love how you, and then I'll turn it around. Wait, but I also love how you, that's okay. Sit in the compliment. And it's very difficult to do, especially, I think sometimes for women, it's hard for us to do because we feel like we have to be smaller than we have to be. But we don't, ladies. We can take up space, and that's okay. And I've been learning how to take up more space. But I'm not going to take up too much space here because there's other folks here on this call that that are amazing. So I'm going to hand it over to Kelli.
Thank you, Kai. Good morning, everyone. For me, it's morning. It may be a different time in your time zone. I'm on the West Coast of the United States, so it's morning for me. But I'm really super excited to be on this panel. I just had the opportunity to do a podcast with Andrew last week and all about this self-love topic. And for me, the number one thing about how do I become someone who loves myself or practices more self-love is really, it's a mindset. The number one thing is the mindset. And the mindset is, I am worthy of being taken care of. I am worthy of honoring myself. And I say that for myself, but I say that for all of you listening. You are worthy to have good care taken of yourself. And I believe truly that caring for myself, my mental, physical, and emotional and spiritual wellness is my job number one. Now, so when I say that, some people think, well, that's being selfish. No, that is not what I mean. It's not being selfish, because if I, Kelli, am taking care of myself the best I know to do, the best I can do, if I'm honoring myself and loving myself, then I am better for the world. I'm better for you. I'm better for my dear husband. I'm better for my family, my parents. I'm better for my coworkers. I'm better for my employer, employee, you name it. Because when we are honoring ourselves and loving ourselves, we become better versions of ourselves. You know, so how do you do that? I know many people struggle with this, and Kai, you touched on many things I speak about when I'm talking to corporations or associations or groups, and that's, of course, is boundaries are super important. But another easy tip that I do is having this focus on gratitude for my life, for my day, for my particular circumstances. We all are different. We all have good days, and we all have many hard days too. Life is sometimes difficult, and that's why I want to be more joyful, because I want to love my life. So gratitude is super. It's just creating these habits in our lives. Like a simple one I shared on the podcast. I have trained my brain every day. When I get up and my feet hit the floor, I get out of bed, shuffling off to the restroom or the sink or wherever, or to pick up my phone, is thank you. As my 2 feet touch the floor, I say to myself, thank you. I'm not even hardly awake yet. But what that does as I'm walking to my first destination is creating an attitude of gratitude within me to say, yep, thank you. I'm alive. I'm up. I'm breathing. Because this self-love comes down to the very core of who we are. You know, self-love, I like to say, it's not just, booking yourself a massage or a manicure. Those are just acts of care for ourselves. But self-love is this mindset and attitude of, I matter and I want to take care of me, right? I want to take care of me. So I'm a better version of myself. And so I'm happier. Another way to be have an attitude of gratitude is I actually thank my body parts, right? Like when I'm walking in my neighborhood, for example, I often will say, thank you, feet. Thank you, feet, that you're moving me around. Thank you, knees, that you're still working, right? Thank you, hips, that we're moving along. Thank you, spine. Thank you, brain. Like, I literally thank my body because it's carried me through 61 years and, her breast cancer, double mastectomies, all that kind of things. Whatever your body has carried you through, I think it is well worth the effort to learn how to thank our body. And I really am, I forgot to turn on my timer, but I'm really excited to hear what Kim has to say, because I know she speaks specifically to women about their bodies and about loving the physical shell that you're in. And I do often talk about that with my clients and with my audiences as well, is, we all live in a body. We all are given the genetics we're given. We have no choice of our genetics, but we do have a choice of how we treat our bodies, right? It's the only place we have to live. That's what I like to say. So it doesn't matter. It's not about size. It's not about weight. It's not about any of that. It's how can I take care of my body today in the circumstance I'm in today to take care of this place I have to live. It's the only place I have to live on earth, right? It's a physical body. Anyway, that's it. I'm sure I've gone on to my 5. So I am going to kick it over to Kim and take it away.
As I just pressed my timer. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Kelly, for everything that you just shared, and Kai as well. It's never a surprise to me when we see who comes together on a panel and we don't know each other, but yet there is this cohesion, this similar message. And so as I was listening, I wanted to add to the conversation. Obviously, being someone who has a lot of history of not feeling love for my body or love for myself, I really had to work on learning how to honor who I am today. And that's the message that I want for all of us, because on this journey of self-love, where sometimes we're judged for wanting to change ourselves, or who we are isn't enough, we can start to feel a lot of conflicting information. And we think, and we're told that if we achieve something, that we are going to magically be given this self-love lifeline for the rest of our lives. And we just know that that's not the case, because self-love does come and is birthed from inside of us. So what I want to add to the conversation today, as Kelly has spoken about the fact that we do have this one body, and even if today you are struggling to be in this body, and you might be in a place where you say, well, I don't know how to love this body that I'm in right now. I often say, and I say it regularly, is that wherever I go, there is my body. And so if I can learn how to be with my body and have more love for my body and be kinder to my body, it will make my life better and more enriched. And also it will invite this joy that we want into our lives. So what I want to start by saying is, we know, and I'm sure you've heard this many times, is that everything starts by the way we talk to ourselves. With me being an expert in thoughts and our subconscious, we have to learn to listen to the words that we're speaking to ourselves in silence, because those are the words that are the most damaging. Those are the words that are hurting the little girl or little boy that lives inside of us. And that little person needs to know that they are beautiful and whole as they are. So really start to look at those words and understand that we have to, and ideally we want to be able to speak words into ourselves that we believe on some level. I love when it comes to words of affirmation is looking at words like, I am learning to be kinder to this body that I see in the mirror. I am learning to recognize that my worth as a woman or as a man is not attached to what my body looks like or the size of clothing that I wear. These are the ways that we start to speak, because when we speak kinder to ourselves and we have a different way of thinking, Our thoughts, once they are repeated and we practice, and yes, it takes work, that then starts to change our beliefs about who we are. And when I believe something, and when you believe something different about yourself, you will then act different, and that changes that ability for you to love yourself more. I want to say to you also, depending on who you are and the age of you, we have a lot of beliefs. We have a lot of beliefs that we're walking around the world in that have been taught to us, that have been told that this is how we're supposed to be, this is how we're supposed to act, this is how we're supposed to treat people. And there gets to a point in our life, and I want us to learn this a little sooner than it has for some of us, that we can change these beliefs if they no longer align with our values. I believe that that's important for us, because when I'm kinder to myself, when I'm more understanding and patient with myself, I then extend that to other people. And of course, we believe in this collective energy of sharing joy and love with other people. So with that, I want you to think about something that we do every single day, and that is we get dressed, right? Every single day we get dressed. And I would love for you to think about your own closet, your own chest of drawers right now, and how many pieces of clothing you have in there that no longer fits you. You might have clothing in there that is from, when you pre-babies, right? Or you're still aspiring to go back to that size that you think you need to be. Or potentially you're also holding on to clothes that are from when you were in a larger size because you're still not finding safety in where you are today. So I'm going to invite you and encourage you. You might not be ready to part with those clothes yet, and that's okay. But maybe could we get them out of our closets so that when we get dressed every morning, we can already start the day with that kindness towards ourselves. And I'm just going to slide in an extra little nugget here that if you are standing on a scale and that scale is making you feel like who you are is not good enough and you're not allowed to love yourself who you are, I'm going to challenge you and encourage you to maybe take a little break from that scale and see how that makes you feel as you move throughout your day. I've got about 30 seconds left. And the last thing I want to say to you is that when you are moving your body, I am a huge advocate for moving our bodies. We want to find ways to move our bodies that make us feel good. When we're feeling good and experiencing joy in the ways that we move our body, we will want to do it again. No one will want to go out and do something that feels punishing and hard and damaging to their bodies. So find something. For me, it's dance. I do a lot of forms of movement, but I love to dance. This is what I love to spread my message on, is through dance. Dance makes us feel good. And guess what? Anyone can do it. And it literally can take 2 or 3 minutes to start your day in your kitchen. And I would love for you to really think about that, ways that you can start to take steps today, right? It's not about getting to the top of the mountain tomorrow. It's about taking those steps forward and giving yourself that grace and that permission to take those pauses and also look back on where you have come from and what you've achieved and use that to help you keep climbing that mountain. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to now pass it on. I believe, Shari, you're taking over.
I am taking over. I am so honored to be here with everybody today. This is a really not only sensitive, but a powerful topic for me. Self-love. Everyone knows me, as I've been introduced, as America's joy magnet. And I will give self-love the credit for my joy. I'm going to share with you just a quick story, and then I'll share with you some tips and throughout, today's session. But I wanted to tell you about in 2007, I found myself in Sedona, Arizona. I don't know if anyone's ever been there, but it's known for its powerful vortexes. And I had shown up there because I had this moment of a breakdown in my life from recalling a moment of trauma in my early childhood. And I listened to the gut and I followed, somehow ended up in Sedona, Arizona at the top of the vortex. And as I was getting ready to leave to go back to my car, I turned. And what I saw there was my 7-year-old self, my 7-year-old sitting up against the red rocks, who looked at me and said, "It took you long enough." And what she meant by that was that after we experienced trauma together, I did not want to go through the world and be with that trauma. And so I disconnected from that little girl. But I also didn't want to be a victim in the world either. And so I went on and I continued, as Kim said, to achieve and create, have all of these accomplishments. And I wanted to be this powerful woman in the world, but there was this 7-year-old girl that kept showing up and just wanted my attention. And I share that with you because so many of us forget to actually sit within, to spend time with ourselves, to listen in and to connect. And in 2013, after some crazy heartbreak, I decided I was going to go off to Italy for the summer, because that's what you do when you have a big breakup. You go meet some hot Italian men. And what happened on one of my last days in Italy was I was standing in a church with my eyes closed, just taking in the environment. And I heard the words very loudly and very clearly. You weren't supposed to leave her. You were supposed to love her. And in that moment, I began that relationship with my inner self, with me, with that 7-year-old girl. And that relationship, and what I want to share with you today, looks like every day, as soon as I open my eyes, as Kelly said, she puts her feet on the floor and says, thank you. I put my hands on my heart and I say, thank you. And the next thing that I do is I literally sit there and go, how are you feeling today? Because so many of us just jump right up and we get into the busy of the day and we got to go take care of the kids and we got to even go meditate and we got to do all of the things. But there is that moment that I just want to check in, because I spend so many years disconnected, and just see how it is that I'm feeling. And guess what? Whatever shows up, I give myself grace. I don't punish myself for how I'm feeling. If I'm having already a rough day, if I'm feeling maybe a little anxious, or if I'm worried about something, I go, okay, I got you. And that, more than anything, our self-compassion, our patience with ourselves, as Kim said, our kindness with ourselves, those are the ways that I continually show up for that little girl and for myself every day. And what happens is that when we create that soft landing pad within, that safe place within, then no matter what happens in the external world, no matter what challenges we come across, no matter what is going on, we know that we will be there for ourselves. And in that, we're able to have more resilience. We take more risks. We show up more fully, boldly, and brightly. And in that, we're able to look at ourselves every day and go, you know what? I may not be perfect. I might have screwed up today, but I'm still worthy. I'm still valuable. I still love myself. And guess what? I get to start again in this moment. I get to try again. And I get to love myself through all of that. And the last thing, because I got 10 seconds that I want to share with you, is my favorite thing that I like to do. And this came on that day that I was in Sedona. I said, you know what? All I wanted as a 7-year-old girl when facing that trauma was for someone to say, can I give you a hug? I'm sorry. And so what I do every single day now is that I take my right hand, you guys are welcome to do this with me, and I place it under my arm right here. And then I take my extra arm, if you're an octopus, choose one. I put that on my top shoulder, or on my shoulder. I take my chin, and I rest it on my hand. I close my eyes and I squeeze. And I often include beautiful affirmations of support. I love you. I got you. You're doing so well. And I do this twice a day, every day. And this makes me feel safe and reminds me how loved I am. So with that said, Andrew, good.
Coming back. Well, you guys did fantastic, right? I mean, staying on time like that without me having to cough or otherwise make a nuisance of myself. So thank you. Thank you for doing such a wonderful job, sharing such wonderful tips. I think one of the things that came to my mind when I'm looking at this and thinking, well, why do we beat ourselves up all the time? And then I'm reminded as the researcher in me about, our negativity bias. And we have this illusion or disillusion, perhaps, that we think that our default position is neutral as humans. Unfortunately, our default position is negative, right? So we're more likely, I think it's probably 7 out of 10 thoughts in average tend to be negative. So if we're not consciously, as Shari was just demonstrating, making effort to show a positive love towards ourselves, our natural position is going to be negative towards ourselves. We're going to look at our bodies and find faults. We're going to look at our characteristics and call them weaknesses, and not think about them as well. That could actually be a strength in a certain situation to have that characteristic. So we talk about ourselves in this way. And I know it's not all about the body, but one research that I picked up on the UK, whereas there was only 1 in 5 or 19% of men who said they found themselves attractive. And when women were asked that question, that dropped to 15%. Right. So, 85% of women are looking in the mirror saying, I don't like myself, and finding fault in their body, which also I think translates into what they think about their mind and their internal self. So, I think there's a huge challenge you folks are taking on to try and help people find this self-love and build. So let's sort of change gear a little bit. And I want you to really have a coffee conversation amongst yourselves around the power of self-love, from your own lives, from the people that you work with, to how, what are some of the benefits that you're seeing of doing these practices and these tips you've all been talking about. So maybe we can start with that, and maybe, we go sort of backwards. Shari, you get the conversation going, and then just call in who you want to call in, and I'll just let you guys have a 20-minute or so conversation around the power of self-love.
Sure. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I was looking at some of the statistics, and they're saying that 1 in 2 women have more self-doubt than self-love. And people with lower self-esteem, they're 4 times more likely to have depression. So it's obvious that this is, I don't like using the word crisis, but to get people's attention that this is something that's serious, that really needs to have our attention. And when we look at, the things in the world and all that's going on, some people think I'm silly for saying it, but I always feel like, if people love themselves more, we wouldn't have those challenges in the world, because we wouldn't be feeling like we have to take from somebody else or harm somebody else. And the power of self-love to me means that we can literally change the world by starting with ourselves. And it's cliche, but it's like, I can't show up as a best partner, and I can't show up as a team player. I can't show up as the best version of myself if I'm not giving that and doing that for myself. So I think it's world changing, to be honest. Anybody, I don't want to just randomly call you. I was like in school. Like, I don't want to go.
I love that. I'm going to just speak from my own experience, because I have shared some of the darkest parts of myself with people, the things that I wasn't proud of. When we are not happy with ourselves, or we have this laundry list of all the ways that we're not measuring up, or the ways that we're not the best wife, the best mother that we feel we need to be, it really causes us to be on guard, protected. I can think of when I was really struggling with myself and all of the expectations. Whenever my husband would say something to me, it could just be a general comment. I took it so deeply, and I took it as an attack, even though it was just a general comment, but I was just on guard, and I was just trying to protect myself. And what that would do, because again, I'm just my ego trying to protect itself, I would retaliate back so quickly. And that really started to harm, obviously, the relationship with him and with my children, etc. And so what I've noticed for myself is the more I'm able to notice where I'm getting triggered, wherever I'm still healing the parts of myself that are still needing the love, when I'm able to do that and articulate and say, I'm feeling really upset. I know what you just said to me was not meant to hurt me, but I'm feeling this way, and being able to have that loving conversation, it really does improve our relationships. But we have to be willing enough to go there with ourselves and recognize the parts of ourselves that we're not quite proud of, the parts of ourselves that still need that love and that healing. And we can do that for ourselves and recognize, again, just like Andrew said, like none of us are perfect. We're not supposed to be perfect. We are human beings in this world where we're dealing with not only our own stuff, but everything that came from our past that has been passed on to us. But we do this for ourselves, as we've said, to help the collective, right? If I'm working on myself and healing the parts of myself that are feeling lost and broken, then I'm able to extend that out to other people with that self-compassion and that compassion towards them. So we are able to do this, and I am so happy to be a part of this. My heart's so full right now. So thank you.
You know, for me, self-love is also self-acceptance, and being able to accept myself wherever I am, in whatever condition I am in. So accepting me when I wake up in the morning for however I look, or however I feel, or however I feel in my body, or whatever happened yesterday, or what I did do, what I didn't do, what I want to do, what I'm trying to do. Just loving myself in that moment and loving my imperfections and being able to embrace that as well. And not loving the person I'm going to be 10 years from now, but loving me right here in this moment, in this specific moment. Also, you know, and Shari, you mentioned something interesting. I think that self-love is not taught. This is something that's like not spoken about. That's why panels like this is so important, because we don't talk about self-love, right? Because I hear a lot of times when I'm giving myself self-love, people may think that's selfish, and that's not selfish. It's prioritizing myself and my goals and what Kai needs. So having self-love in that way is super, super, super important. So self-acceptance and loving yourself wherever you are and being okay in that moment. And for me, I found that I'm a better mom because I'm prioritizing myself. And I'm attempting to teach that to my boys. I don't know if they've caught on yet, but hopefully they will, and maybe they'll grab onto it by osmosis. But you know, teaching that, and especially to our young women out here, teaching us self-love, how to love ourselves, how to prioritize. These are things that aren't taught. So as parents, my goal is to show that in action, and hopefully folks around me could pick up on that.
I'll jump in. You know, why self-love? Why do we talk about this? I do agree with you, Shari, about the world being a much better place. And then when you bring it down to the personal, it's like, I have one life. I might have more lives. I don't know the answer, what happens when we die on this mortal coil. But right now, I know I have one life. And I ask myself, how do I want to feel? You know, that check-in. How do I want to feel? It doesn't feel good when we're angry at ourselves or other people. It doesn't feel good when I'm anxious and running around and my heartbeat is racing and I don't feel like I can get everything done today that I have to get done. And it doesn't feel good. And I want to feel good. Like when it comes back to the basic humanness of who Kelli is, I want to be happy. I want to feel good, no matter what the circumstance I find myself in. So to me, self-love is like that key, because one of you just said this, like wherever you go, there you are. You don't get to get away from yourself. And so to know who you are, to really take that time to be still, which we don't often do in our culture. And I speak often to large groups, you know, in corporations or in associations, and they bring me in, they want me to talk about self-care, self-love, and how it relates to burnout or how it relates to the bottom line of a business, and kind of relating to you, Shari, not just the world, but the businesses and the practices we work in, right? And I say, if you're an employee, if you're a person and you are working wherever you're working and you are burnt out and you are stumbling around and you are half there, they call it, you're absent, but you're there, but you're not working really. It's just, it has self-care and self-love has everything to do also with business practices. It has to do with positive bottom lines. It has to do with all the things that our corporate world cares about, but it all comes down to what we're talking about today, was the individual within the situation that they're in, right? So I don't know, I don't want to get too off that track, but for me, it's really is, how do I want to feel? And okay, Kelly, you wake up and you feel like crap. Yes. Okay. So we love ourselves no matter how we're feeling. We'll accept ourselves. But my thing is always, what is a better thought I could reach for? Okay. Maybe someone's angry at me and I'm on the receiving end of this, right? And I'm riled up. Okay. Well, I don't want to feel this way anymore. What is one better thought I could reach for? And, even if the thought is, this won't always be, time heals, time changes, whatever the positive thought is, to take me out of the feeling that I don't like. And, it comes, yeah, I can stop talking. We could all stop. We could all talk forever, but there you go for now.
There you go. I'm going to jump back and say, so, I think let's talk about relationships. Whether they're business relationships or personal family relationships or friends or whatever, because I can understand the benefit for self. And then I'm trying to sort of get my head around also, well, there must be a benefit for the people we interact with if we love ourselves more. So maybe if you could share some of your experiences around that, maybe Kim, for example, start and just share what you've learned from the work you're doing on how that affects, the people around you as well as yourself.
Oh, I love this. And I actually had something to share, so I'm glad you called on me. So thank you. You know what I'm going to share, and maybe not specific to this question, but I will share that just recently at the beginning of the pandemic, I had to have a difficult conversation with my mother. And it's sometimes really hard, not sometimes, it is hard when it's family. We care for our family. We have beliefs around how we're supposed to behave, what we're supposed to do, especially as daughters. But what I want to say is, when we are not being true to ourselves in our relationships, we are now negatively impacting that relationship by holding ourselves back, by not being able to be our true self. So being able to honor yourself and to be able to express what it is that you're feeling, because again, no one can tell you that what you're feeling is wrong. You're able to express your feelings. And one of my suggestions always is I'm feeling this. We're not pointing fingers. We're not, accusatory to somebody else, but it's expressing how you're feeling and asking for feedback and communication in that exchange, because otherwise, let's say if I do nothing, I am going to hold myself back. I am going to feel strain in that relationship. And if the relationship is important enough to you, then being able to express yourself matters, because it will enrich. And it has enriched the conversation and the relationship that we have. It didn't at the beginning. It was difficult. There was strain. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but we have found our way through it. And that's how we both have grown. I am no longer a 5-year-old little girl. I'm an adult. I'm almost 50 years old. So we honor each other in that relationship. And so I just think it's important that we do that. It will strengthen, whether it be our parent-child relationships, whether that be with our spouse, with our children. We owe that to each other, and it does strengthen the relationships we have.
And then also, you're not carrying the burden all to yourself, right?
Totally.
Because a lot of times, we feel, oh, I have to carry this burden because I can't say this to this very close family member. And when you're carrying the burden, that's just a burden on yourself. And you're carrying a burden that's really for two people, because it should be a conversation for two people to try to work through it, as you said, Kim, right? So carrying that burden is not necessarily, that's not self-love. Self-love is releasing that and sharing how you feel and to your point, working through it. So, and that's something that I've been working on that with my aunt for the last couple of weeks, and it has been a real joyful experience. No pun intended.
And it's that releasing too really takes a whole lot of self-love, because if you're like a lot of people, there's guilt that comes with it. There is that the people pleaser that shows up, that it's like, oh, I don't want to put that on them. And so it's all that internal work that we have to do with ourselves to go, this is not mine to carry. They're responsible for their own feelings. Like, that was a big one for me, was to not hold everybody else's feelings. Like, I had to manage them for everybody. And the biggest act of self-love for me was to go, I no longer have to carry that. And if you're upset by that, and I know that I was kind and respectful, then that's your self-love journey to now go on. And that's a hard release when you're so used to wanting everybody to be okay. But that's so much of my own journey, and stepping fully into self-love was to know that I don't have to show up that way for everybody.
Boy, that's so true, Shari, about not being responsible for someone else's feelings or someone else's attitudes or someone else's particularly feelings about me, right? Because so many of us grew up as people pleasers. I certainly was as a young woman, and it took me decades to learn that I don't have to do that. I don't have to please you or anyone, right? I need to take care of and please me. And back to Andrew's question, how does that help all the relationships? Well, in a very, organic way, if I'm caring for myself, loving for myself, I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to be a more kind and fun spouse to my husband. If I'm unhappy about me and I'm struggling with whatever it is I'm struggling with, of not loving myself, or being angry at myself or other people, carrying the burdens that we need to let go of, if I'm not taking care of myself in that way, I'm not a happy person to be around. I'm not a good partner. I become the difficult one because I'm not taking care of myself. And that's again, that goes back to the mindset is not self-care. Self-love is not selfish. Self-love is how we serve our families, our world, because when we are operating out of a place of love for ourselves, we are better at whatever it is for whoever it is that we are around.
And I'm just going to throw one question out while we were just talking about this topic, and we're not done by any means. But this current topic was really about protecting others and holding on to all of this, and it affecting our own self-love, our own self-care. I do this all the time, want to protect everybody else. And I know we do that because we're either people pleasers or we want to be protective of others, or it's difficult conversations. What are some tips? What could you tell me to do to help me to be better at sharing in those conversations, or not holding on to all of that to protect everyone else? Because I think I am not alone there. I have a feeling I'm one of millions of people that do this, and I think we all could use a little help there.
I'd love to step in here, Debbie, and thank you for that. We all feel this, and I think it's important that we have that reminder that we're not alone. It's not like those of us that are here speaking today have made it, so we've got it all figured out. You know what I love to do when I'm having to have a difficult conversation and I'm uncomfortable with it? I love to just lay those feelings right out on the table. Being able to create that dialogue and offering suggestions, but letting them know that this is sometimes a trial and error and that this might work for you today. And that's why we want to build up a little toolkit, right? We want to build up a little toolkit of self-care and self-love tools. But I think with our young people, with any relationships, we're not taught to feel emotions, to understand emotions. So to me, even showing them an emotion wheel and talking about different emotions and that they're all allowed and what made you feel this way, this is helping with emotional intelligence. This is helping us be able to express what it is that we're feeling so that we're not storing all of this sometimes pain inside of ourselves without being able to have a way for us to express it. So those are some of the things that I like to support her with.
I love that, Kim. As a parent as well, I find being transparent is super important. So the same piece with emotions, not holding all the emotions to myself. So if my kids see me and I'm crying or I'm upset, or I'll explain to them, you know, Mama's really upset right now, or I'm not feeling good right now. And not obviously tell them what's going on, but I may say, you know, Mama's feeling blank right now. And having those open conversations is so important. And then also telling them, I've been very clear about Mama needs her time now, because now I can be a better mama. So I'm going to go for this walk, or I'm going to go meditate, join me, you know, or I'm going to go, and being explicit about what I'm doing and being direct. That's been helping them. So now they understand, oh, Mama's going to go meditate. Sometimes they join me and sometimes they don't, but, you know, kind of teaching them how to treat yourself, and being explicit and clear about why you're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's important to be the example as opposed to so much like teaching. And I'll be totally honest, like my fiance, we've been together years. My partner and I, we're very opposite. He's grumpy and negative and does not see the world the same way that I do. And I've spent many years trying to like be like, wow, look at the light, look at this, you know, and do all of that. And really it just annoys him and it frustrates me. And so I have made more effort or less effort at just continually showing up being the best version of me that I can be. And in those times that he is feeling that sort of way, which doesn't often reflect a self-love, allowing him to just be where he's at and just controlling and maintaining my own, you know, like protecting myself, my own space. Because what happens is that I think if we try to, you know, tell people, they stop listening. So sometimes when he couldn't go down his rabbit hole, I could just say, so what else is good going on? And that usually gets him right there. And so he stops, you know, that and can turn more inward and reflective. So less teaching, more being.
Yeah.
In case anyone didn't read the comment in the chat, oh, Andrew's back, but I'll say this really quickly. I really believe and agree with the fact that not everyone always wants to be told how to fix something, and to give them, you know, what kind of support do you need right now? Would you like me to listen? Are you wanting some support? Giving that space, because there's nothing worse than somebody who's always like coaching you, right? Like, it's like, just let me feel my feelings. I don't need you to tell me what to do. So I love that comment. I wanted to bring that forward.
Right.
Sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
Oh, I just wrote that in the chat, Kim, before you were speaking, that when someone's sharing with you, ask them, do you want to be helped? Do you want to be heard? Or you just need a hug, right? Because it's correct. I think Timothy put it in there. We don't always need a fix. We just need someone to listen.
And I think it's something, you know, as a representative of the male cohort, I could say it's something we have a huge challenge with, right? Because we love to fix things. So we're brought up with Lego and we fix. And the saying goes, our natural reaction is to jump straight to the solution, right? Because we've got a solution for everything, you know, or at least we think we have. And so I recognize that in my own behavior, and, you know, have to bite my tongue and realize that person doesn't want me really to tell the solution. That's not why she's asking the question, or he's asking the question. There's another reason for this question. and to offer those, as Kelly says, those solutions. Really, well, help me. How do you want me to help you, really? Rather than just assume that the other person wants me to come in and say, I know how to solve that. If I was you, I would do ABC. That's right. So it's really hard. So, I'm trying to sort of just cohort why in many relationships it becomes a challenge, because the man's default position often is just, let's get over this. Let's just jump to that solution and move on. So. And
it makes sense for them, though, right? Because they love us and they want to see us happy, and they want to see us in a better situation. I mean, I've been married 15 years. It took my husband, I think he's still figuring it out, quite honestly, but it took him a long time to figure out that sometimes I just, need a hug or just need someone to listen. You don't have to fix this. And I'm just working through the motions here. But when you love somebody, you don't want to see them a certain way. So like, how do you even handle that, right? Where you see somebody that you love and they're kind of going through it, and, you want to throw them a life raft, but they also have to go through it. So you just swim next to them,
Nice.
I was going to say, what's interesting is that when we try to offer a solution, often it's from our perspective and what we think the solution is. And it's like, in a way, managing like what we want them to, and it may not be right for them. So maybe it is just a simple question, if, so what would make this better? Or like, how can you, feel better? How can you not feel that, instead, and that's a good question, because then that gives them the opportunity to figure it out for themselves and still throw them that lifeline in a way.
Yeah. But then like, you can't drown with them, right? So it's like it's this, I love the saying, on the airplane, when they say you put your mask on before you put the child's mask on. I always smile when I hear that, because to me, that's self-love. It's putting your mask on before you put your child's mask on. And it's hard to even think of it that way, right? Because it seems selfish, but it's not. You can't help the person next to you if you don't have breath.
Other thing I was just thinking about too is what we've been raised with. Well, how often is someone crying and we're like, oh my gosh, they're crying, I need to stop them from crying, right? It's what we've been taught, that what tears mean. And so often we want to stop their crying to avoid our discomfort that we're feeling, right? Whereby we know how healthy it is to have a good cry. I am a huge advocate for crying. I just think it's important for us to just recognize that as our history comes forward, what we've been taught, what was modeled to us is often what we're trying to do to fix a situation. And let's be honest, we don't need to be fixed, right?
Of course not.
Absolutely not. We're perfect today as we can be, and then we can always be maybe slightly different tomorrow, but let's just say we're exactly where we're supposed to be today. And that helps us, I think, feel a lot better about ourselves as well as about the situation and the world around us. If we take that mindset that, as we talked about earlier, I think, what's the learning in this? What can I take the positive out of this situation and my current state? So I think that's great. This has been so wonderful, and I know we could go on talking forever, and we will, no doubt will continue the conversations, but I just want to say from my part, from my heart, how grateful I am to all of you today for coming on and sharing not only your wisdom but also your passion for this. I think the energy that I felt during the conversations, during your sharings, was just amazing. So thank you so much for doing that today. Debbie, if you want to just close us out.
I absolutely would be happy to. And a lot of people I know had to jump off at the hour mark. But I want to thank everyone who joined us today, as I feel this is something we have to talk about more. That's one of my learnings today. We have to talk about this more. We have to get this out more so that we're all doing that hug and taking care of ourselves. So thank you all. Remember to, log into the Year of Joy, join if you haven't already. There's so much information, so much content on there, hopefully tools, tips, things to help you with your joy. And of course, self-love is a big part of that. So thank you all. Thank you to the panelists for their wonderful, wonderful conversation. And thank you for including me in it. I so appreciate it. Everyone have a most joyful day.